And for you, how gratifying is that? I mean, just knowing your backstory and some of the things you've done to get to this point, how gratifying is it to have these type of moments where all that hard work really is paying literally back?
I mean, it's pretty emotional. It's been a crazy 11 months. I was home for a year and a half. I don't know if you guys heard my story, but man, I was driving DoorDash a year ago. And to be here, to be a part of the Boston Celtics, it's special. It's special.
Hey everyone, I'm Kwani Lunis. I guess I'm taking over the Garden Report now. I've come to Vegas and decided that I'm going to take Bobby's job. But I'm here with Sherrod Blakely and, of course, Bobby Manning. Let's talk about takeaways from today's Celtics game. They're now 1-1 in Summer League Series play. What was your reaction?
Oh, Matt Ryan, how can it not be him? He was incredible, hitting every shot, looking for his shot aggressively, and then the game winner. The whole fourth quarter was just absolutely insane between the score changes, referees reviewed and changed the score twice down the stretch, and then Ryan pulls up for down 1 with 1 second left, a bank shot off the glass from like 6 steps behind the three-point line, falls over injured. Everyone's wondering whether they're going to celebrate or, go help him up or whatever was going on, but he ends up fine. He ends up pretty emotional after the game about this moment for him.
And we have to ask Sherrod about that because you were the Oprah, as Washburn said earlier. Wow, you asked a really good question, though. What was it and what was his reaction?
Well, the thing about Matt Ryan, and I don't think most people realize this, but his journey it's a Hollywood script that even Hollywood would have a hard time buying. Guy goes from, being a DoorDash driver to kicking the doors in with the Boston Celtics and making a name for himself right now with his three-point shooting. And I asked him about just that journey and just, all that seemed to kind of really come to a head in this game where it seemed that all that hard work paid off for him. And he got very emotional about it. And I can understand that because when you have been counted out and you get an opportunity to show what you can do, and you don't just show up, you show out, which is what he has been doing this entire summer league, you can understand how he gets a little bit emotional. But the bottom line is this: Matt Ryan is opening a lot of eyes here. I had a chance to talk to a couple of scouts earlier, and Matt Ryan's name it wasn't even the topic of conversation. He just came up in conversation. And the one thing that both scouts I spoke to talked about when it comes to Matt Ryan is his confidence. That he's not one of those guys that when he raises up, in his mind, he's getting back on defense because that shot just went in. And when you look at him and you watch just the mannerisms, just the way he carries himself, he's an extremely confident player. And the one thing that one scout said, and I've been thinking this for the longest time, I think I mentioned this to Bobby, I'm worried that we're looking at Max Strus 2.0. And one of the scouts said, look, if the Celtics aren't careful and they let this guy go, he will come back to haunt them because you look at the things that he does at a high level. You look at what teams are looking for. They're looking for guys like him, guys who have a very clear skill that benefits their overall team structure that they can get on the cheap. Matt Ryan is that guy. So the Celtics, they've got 1 2-way contract left. It's hard to lock that into him because they may have some other needs. When you think about they could use the developmental big, which they've got a couple that they could potentially go with. But the bottom line is this: Matt Ryan is doing what you're supposed to do in these situations, and that is force teams to make the hard choices because you're making it hard for them to walk away from you.
Yeah, and he admitted that he didn't even think that shot would go in, but of course it did, and that was one of the moments where he's able to, he also said that he hadn't made really a clutch shot in a while. I think he said since
which is crazy when you think about a long-range shooter like him not making a damn clutch shot. Like what?
Well, this is the beauty of Summer League. You have to show some things you normally don't get to do, and that ball was in his hands. He went with a little behind-the-back move, set himself up. That's not something he's usually going to be doing in games, but it is something impressive you can show in these moments. And to your point on the roster spot, Sherrod, you got a guy shooting 11 and 19 from 3 through 2 games. If that continues, you give him a 2-year deal, 3-year deal here.
He's going to shoot that well. I mean, I keep coming back to this, and it was confirmed to me when I'm talking to folks who actually get paid to scout players. His confidence is different than anyone on the Celtics team. Sam Hauser included. Sam is a good shooter, and he knows he's a good shooter, but he doesn't always play like he knows he's a good shooter. Matt Ryan could miss 6, 7 in a row, and his demeanor on that 7th, that 8th, that 9th shot is no different than it was on the 1st or 2nd. That's what the great shooters do. That's what Max Strus did. Unfortunately for the Celtics, he's doing that for someone else. So
I think it's time we get used to saying Matt Ryan in the basketball context and not in the context of football. But what were you going to say?
Yeah, credit to Brad Stevens. You got restricted rights on him now because they brought him in on the two-way deal there. So they'll be able to keep him if they want him. They won't have him get poached by anyone else in that spot. So Stevens, continue to press the right buttons. There's a lot of impressive guys on this roster right now. I think more than we thought there would be.
And that's what really I think for the Celtics is the beauty of this summer league, because from the outside you're thinking, wait a minute, your top 8 players, none of these are going to crack your top 8. What exactly are you going to get out of this? And I think Brad alluded to this earlier when he talked about development. When he talked about J.D. Davison, he really was talking about a lot of guys in the summer league roster as far as guys that they could develop over time and not have the pressure of throwing them out there and playing them right away. I look at, I look at Davison, I look at Matt Ryan, I look at Sam Hauser. A lot of guys that you would ideally want to help you at some point, but you don't need them to help you in this moment.
And we are, of course, brought to you by Com. Go over to com.com/garden. Get 40% off a premium subscription. Sherrod's been using it.
I want to be calm like Matt Ryan. Like, coming into Summer League, I wasn't as calm as I wanted to be because I'm thinking, why am I here? What am I going to get out of this? And it's been so much better than I thought. And Matt Ryan, Davison, big fella from Purdue, Dikembe's relative who is just at a double-double. I think he was at 15 points, 11 rebounds, was plus 26, plus minus. There's a lot of things that you feel good about with this Celtics roster and Summer League team. Guys that aren't going to necessarily, you're going to have their jerseys on come opening night, but they may very well be around for the near future. And again, for a Celtics team that Brad Stevens has made it pretty damn clear that he is not all about that draft pick life. If you want a Celtics pick, he'll give you that. But he has to figure out ways to develop talent anyway. And I think what we're seeing now is just finding guys that for whatever reason fell through the cracks, but they've got some upside. Now, can you season them? Can you develop them? Can you let them marinate in your system to the point where they can be a viable use down the road? And I think we're starting to see the early stages of that.
There we go. That's a wrap on. I don't even know what day this is, but they have another game tomorrow. The Garden Report, the Celtics are tied right now in Summer League. It's not just Summer League because there's a lot to look forward to. Stick around with us.